Okay, so now we're moving on to our third and final type of application for a linear equation in one variable. Now, these ones are going to be about consecutive integers. So you've had total questions, angle questions, and now consecutive integer questions. Now, the first thing we should do is define what a consecutive integer is. Integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on in either direction. Consecutive means that they come in order. So all of these are integers, right? -3 is an integer, 2 is an integer. But to be consecutive, it would be like 1, 2, 3. Or -2, -1, 0. Or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? These are all consecutive. What we want to be able to do is write these consecutive integers in terms of variables. Now, the nice thing is that this is always done for you. The first consecutive integer is always x. Now, how do you get from 1 to 2? You add 1. How do you get from -2 to -1? You add 1. How do you get from 0 to 1? You add 1. So if my first integer is x, to get to the next one, we just add 1 to x. How do we get the next integer? Well, you'd add another 1. In other words, to x plus 1, you add another 1, or to x, you would add 2. Now, this is 3 consecutive integers. If I wanted a fourth consecutive integer, I would add 3. If I wanted a fifth consecutive integer, I would add 4, and so on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read the question, knowing that this is a consecutive integer question. We're going to decide what we're solving for, and we're going to define our variables. So find 3 consecutive integers such that the sum of the first and the third is 49 less than 3 times the second. Now, hopefully that didn't scare you. What I wanted to do by reading that is realize that you're having 3 consecutive integers, and this question calls them the first, the second, and the third. So we're going to say our let statement is that we have a first integer, we have a second integer, and we're going to have a third integer. We're going to let the first integer be x, the second integer be x plus 1, and the third integer be x plus 2. Sometimes they'll say the least, the middle, and the greatest. They can change these words. They can also change the number of consecutive integers there are, but it'll always be x, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, and so on. All right, so now that we've read the question, we've identified what type it is, we've defined our variable, now we have to write an equation in terms of this one variable. So here we go. The sum of, what does the sum mean? Well, the sum means the answer of addition a question. So the sum of the first and the third integer. The first integer is x. The second or the third integer is x plus 2. So this would be the sum of the first and the third. Now, the sum of the first and the third is, as soon as you see the word is, you're going to put an equal sign. Sorry, my cat is sitting right beside me and it's like rubbing its head on my hand. Okay, cat, go away. I'm going to pause the video for 1 second. Sorry about that. So the sum of the first and the third is 49 less than 3 times the second. How are we going to write that? 49 less than 3 times the second. All right, sorry. The cat hit some buttons and my pen got stuck. So 49 less than 3 times the second. Let's start with 3 times the second. So my second integer is x plus 1. So it's going to be 3 times x plus 1. Now, 49 less than 3 times the second means I'm going to do minus 49. So this is 49 less than 3 times the second integer is the sum of the first and the third. Whew. Not easy. Practice a ton. Hopefully you've done 1.3 first so that you're kind of practiced up with writing these expressions and then equations from these wording. but it kind of combines those two skills. So now we're going to solve. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify. So I have x plus x is 2x plus 2 on the left-hand side. I'm going to distribute this 3, so I end up with 3x plus 3 minus 49 on the right. And then I'm going to simplify further so that I have 2x plus 2 is equal to 3x minus 46. Then I'm going to put my x's on one side and my numbers on the other. I'm going to put my x's on the right, so I'm going to minus this 2x from each side. And I end up with 2 is equal to x minus 46. And then I'm going to add 46 to each side. That's going to give me 48 is equal to x. And then as always with every question, you then take this and go back up to your let statements. So x is 48, which means your second integer would be 48 plus 1, which is 49. And then your third integer would be 48 plus 2, which is 50. So therefore, the three integers, or consecutive integers, are 48, 49, and 50. Now be very careful when you're solving these. Again, integers will never be fractions or decimals, so they will always come out as these positive or negative whole numbers. Okay. There's one more piece to this puzzle before we can be done with this application, is that not every time is it consecutive integers. Sometimes it could be consecutive integers that are odd or even. So an example of odd integers would be like -7, -5, -3, -1, 1, 3, 5, 7. These are odd integers. Now, just like consecutive integers, you're going to let the first one be x. Now, if I let this one be x here, how do I go from -7 to -5? Well, I have to add 2. I'm adding 2 because I'm skipping a number. So my next term would be x plus 2. To get to the third term, you're going to add another 2. Or to x, you're going to add 4. To get to the next term, you'd add another 2, so x plus 6, and so on. What if they were consecutive even integers? So like -6, -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. Again, if I let the first integer be x, to get to the next integer, should follow the format above, to get to the next integer, what would you do? Well, you're adding 2. So the next integer would be x plus 2. To get to the next integer, you'd add another 2. You have to skip -3. So you'd have x plus 4. So my next integer would be x plus 4. And then x plus 6, ... In other words, it doesn't matter whether they're consecutive odd or consecutive even integers. It's always x, x plus 2, x plus 4. So let's look at a question. Find 3 again. So find 3 consecutive odd integers such that the sum of the least and the greatest is 13 more than the middle. So the biggest difference between this, well, there's two differences between this question and the question before. The first difference is instead of calling them the first, the second, and the third integer, I'm going to call them the least, the middle, and the greatest. So whatever terms they use in the question, I'm going to use in my let statement. Then because they're odd, I'm going to go x, x plus 2, x plus 4. Then I have to set up my equation. So the sum, the addition, of the least and the greatest is the least and the greatest. So this is the sum of the least and the greatest. Some people find that they like to write the equation in words first. I, as you can tell, am not the best printer, so I tend to not. Okay, but the least and the greatest is 13 more than the middle. The middle integer is x plus 2, and this is going to be 13 more than that. So this is the sum of the least and the greatest is 13 more than the middle. and then you solve. So I'm going to collect like terms. I have 2x plus 4 on the left. On the right, I have x plus 15. I'm going to put my x's on the left, so I'm going to minus x minus x. I get x plus 4 is equal to 15. Then I'm going to minus 4, and I get x is equal to 11. Then, as always, you're going to take that answer and you're going to go back up here with it, right? It's why we do the therefore or the let statements. So my first integer is 11. My second integer is going to be 11 plus 2, which is 13. And my third integer is going to be 11 plus 4, which is 15. So therefore, the three odd integers are 11, 13, and 15. Awesome. That's the end of word problems. So there's three types: totals, angles, and consecutive. Good luck.